The courtroom doors creak open and the air feels heavier than ever. Eyes dart nervously, whispers fill the room, and in the center of it all stands a family on the brink of collapse. One shocking confession could change everything. But who will survive the fallout? Stay with me, because what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about loyalty, love, and betrayal. Don't blink, because every word matters. The morning sunlight barely penetrates the heavy blinds of the courtroom. Dust motes float in the beams, catching the tension like tiny spotlights on the drama about to unfold. Kody Brown sits stiffly in his chair, his fingers drumming a nervous rhythm against the polished wood. His jaw is tight, his eyes scanning the room as if he's already anticipating the next blow. Across the aisle, Robyn clasps her hands together, her lips pressed into a thin line, forcing a calm she doesn't feel. The bailiff calls the court to order. Judge Peterson's gavel comes thundering down, and the murmurs are silenced. "We are here to hear the case regarding the family dispute brought forth by the plaintiffs," she says. The word dispute echoes strangely, almost comically, underplaying the storm that is about to erupt. Christine leans forward, her posture rigid, every line in her body screaming defiance. Her eyes flick to Kody, then to the empty chair across from her, a silent accusation hanging in the air. There's history here, layers of resentment and long-buried secrets, each ready to surface. And the first bomb is about to drop. The prosecutor rises, an imposing woman with a commanding voice. "Your Honor, this case encompasses not only the division of assets and property, but also emotional distress and the betrayal of trust within this family." Her eyes scan the Browns, their gaze settling a little too long on Kody. "We have testimony to show alliances were broken, secrets hidden, and agreements, both legal and personal, were violated." The room shifts as the first witness takes the stand, Janelle. She is fairly calm at the start, hands shaking only slightly as she grasps the edge of the witness box. Her voice is steady, but the pain ripples beneath the surface as she relives the chain of events that has brought them all to this courtroom showdown. She speaks of whispered conversations in the dead of night, of promises made and broken, of alliances that once seemed unshakable. Christine's face tightens with every word. Kody's lips twitch as if to respond, but the gavel keeps him in check. Each testimony layers tension over the room like heavy fog. Outside, the world moves on, oblivious to the crumbling walls of what was once a seemingly perfect family. Tension escalates when Robyn takes the stand next. She hesitates, then speaks with a quiet intensity. Her words are well chosen, her emotions barely held in check. "I never wanted this to come to court," she says, her voice catching on the last word. "But when your choices hurt the people you claim to love, you leave me with no choice." Her eyes meet Kody's, and for a moment the room feels suspended, caught in the gravity of what she's saying. The first day of testimony ends, but the storm has only just begun. Whispers fill the hallway, speculation runs rampant, and alliances begin to shift even before the next session. The camera would pan across the courtroom, catching every subtle glance, every twitch, every unspoken accusation. The audience is left on edge, knowing the real drama hasn't even started yet. Outside the courtroom, on the steps, reporters push and jostle, a flurry of flashing cameras capturing each visual snapshot. Social media amplifies the suspense. Every utterance within those walls is dissected, debated, and redisplayed. This isn't a family dispute anymore. It's an event, a collision of private and public worlds, and the reverberations will continue well into the future beyond the final thud of the gavel. As Kody walks back to his car, the weight of the day presses down. Each step echoes in the empty parking lot, a rhythm that matches the storm building inside. He knows there are secrets yet to be revealed, confrontations yet to unfold, and alliances yet to crumble. And so, when the courtroom doors close behind him, the audience is left with one thought alone. Everything will be different in the next session. The courtroom hums with a tense energy as the second day begins, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and unspoken hostility. Kody sits rigid, his fingers intertwined, eyes darting toward the gallery where friends, family, and curious onlookers have gathered, their whispers barely contained as if they can feel the storm about to break. Robyn takes a deep breath, stepping toward the witness stand, her heels clicking sharply on the polished floor, echoing through the quiet room like a warning signal, and she begins recounting events that stretch back months, carefully navigating through moments of betrayal and heartbreak, each word measured yet heavy with emotion. as she reveals private conversations and decisions made behind closed doors that challenge the perception of unity and loyalty within the family. Christine shifts in her seat, eyes narrowing, lips pressed tight, her mind racing with rebuttals and counterarguments, but she knows she must wait her turn. The prosecutor leans forward, her voice crisp, guiding Robyn through the timeline, drawing out contradictions and revealing layers of deception that had previously gone unnoticed. All while the gallery leans forward, hanging on each revelation, the tension so palpable it feels almost physical. Can you feel the walls closing in when the truth you feared surfaces unexpectedly? Janelle's testimony follows, her voice quivering as she recounts private conversations with Kody. Moments where promises were made and quickly forgotten, alliances subtly shifted, and unspoken resentments simmered just below the surface. Each revelation cutting like a knife, forcing Kody to swallow hard and maintain a stoic facade, though his clenched jaw betrays the storm raging behind his calm exterior. The judge watches intently, her eyes sharp, sensing the growing tension and the delicate balance of emotional volatility in the room, ready to intervene if decorum breaks, while the court reporter types furiously, capturing every word that could change the course of the case, and every subtle movement, every twitch of an eyebrow, every almost imperceptible sigh, adding layers to the story being etched into legal history. Meri, who has been quiet until now, steps forward, her voice trembling yet firm as she recalls painful memories of feeling isolated, unheard, and betrayed. How some decisions took her to question not only her place in the family, but also her trust in Kody and the others. As she speaks, tears line up and run down her cheeks, a raw and vulnerable moment that sends a shiver down the spines of everyone present. Have you ever felt the weight of silence crushing you, when to say something might change everything? Kody fidgets uncomfortably, looking over at Christine, whose face is filled with anger and sadness. A silent accusation that cuts deeper than words could. Meanwhile, Robyn's eyes water, her hands shaking slightly on the witness stand. Still, her voice remains steady as she recounts the emotional toll of endless negotiations and betrayals, leaving everyone raw. Confrontation heightens when new evidence is brought forth. Emails, photos, and messages that juxtapose prior testimony. With each piece acting like a trigger, the family members set off reactions among themselves, exchanging glances loaded with accusation, fear, and frustration. The audience can almost hear the unspoken words passing between them, words that would destroy reputations and relationships in one fell swoop. Christine's attorney rises, objecting to certain pieces of evidence. The judge rules some admissible, others inadmissible, creating brief moments of relief that are immediately replaced by new anxiety as the trial careens forward. What would you do if every secret you thought was buried came rushing to the surface at once? The arguments grow more heated, voices slightly raised but controlled as the lawyers push and pull, exposing layers of strategy and manipulation, desperation. Kody leans back, eyes fixed on the ceiling as if to search the fluorescent lights for answers, while Robyn's hands clench and unclench, belying her turmoil. Outside the courtroom, whispers turn into murmurs, rumors spreading like wildfire, social media buzzing with snippets of the testimony, each fragment dissected and debated, increasing the pressure inside as cameras focus on the Browns' faces, capturing the sweat, the forced smiles, the subtle tremors that betray the tension, and every glance becomes fodder for speculation. The emotional stakes reach a peak when Janelle recounts a confrontation in the kitchen months prior, a private argument that had seemed small at the time but now takes on monumental significance, revealing the depth of frustration and feelings of betrayal that have festered quietly until now, and as she speaks, the courtroom seems to hold its collective breath, the weight of her words pressing down on everyone. Could you remain calm if everything you thought was private was now on display for all to judge? The day moves forward with testimony from friends and extended family, each adding pieces to the puzzle. Stories of alliances broken, secret meetings, whispered warnings, and emotional pleas that illustrate a family teetering on the edge of collapse. The courtroom becomes a pressure cooker, every reaction magnified, every pause pregnant with meaning, while Kody, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri navigate a minefield of emotional and legal obstacles that seem insurmountable, each revelation more shocking than the last. As the final witness for the day prepares to speak, the energy in the room reaches a fever pitch. The air feels heavier, the silence deafening, and all eyes fix on the stand, waiting for what could be the statement that tips the scales completely. the testimony that could ignite a confrontation no one is fully prepared to handle. Do you think you could survive a truth that changes everything you believed about your family? The gavel strikes, signaling a short recess, and the family files out, faces pale, eyes avoiding each other, knowing that when the next session resumes, the revelations will become even more personal, the confrontations more intense, and the secrets even harder to ignore. The audience is left at the edge of their seats, speculating on which hidden truth will come out next, which alliance will fall first, and how deep the fractures in the family are, as whispers fill the hallways, and cameras catch every fleeting expression, every subtle twitch, and every shadow of doubt, making the tension palpable and a promise that the next session will be even more dramatic and emotionally charged. The suspense lingers, a knot of anxiety tightening in the chest as the family prepares to return to the stand, knowing that what is revealed next could forever change relationships, trust, and lives. Who do you trust when it's the people you love the most who are the ones pulling you apart? The courtroom is tense, the air thick with anticipation as the third day begins. Each member of the Brown family carrying the weight of yesterday's revelations like a storm cloud over their shoulders. Kody sits rigid in his chair, his gaze darting nervously around the room while Robyn's fingers tap lightly against the edge of the witness box, her jaw tight as she braces herself for what she knows will be another day of emotional upheaval. Christine leans forward, eyes narrowed, lips pursed, ready to pounce on any slip or hesitation, while Janelle and Meri exchange fleeting, uneasy glances as alliances shift subtly but noticeably. Each aware trust is a fragile commodity. Here, one misstep could spark an emotional explosion. The judge calls the court to order, her gavel a sharp punctuation in the tense silence, and the prosecutor begins presenting new evidence. A series of emails and text messages between Kody and various family members that hint at decisions made without consensus, promises broken, and alliances quietly manipulated. Each revelation cuts deeper than the last, and it leaves the family reeling, the audience on the edge of their seats. Can you imagine the shock of realizing the people you rely on most may have been keeping secrets from you all along? Robyn takes the stand, her voice trembling slightly, revealing a late-night conversation with Kody that left her questioning her place in the family, her tone a mix of hurt and restrained anger. And as she speaks, the room seems to shrink around her, the tension palpable, every eye fixed on her face, reading every micro-expression, every subtle twitch that betrays her emotional state. Christine leans back, exhaling sharply, but her fingers clench the armrest tightly, her mind racing with counterpoints and rebuttals. Kody stares straight ahead, the weight of the evidence pressing on him, knowing that his actions or inactions are under relentless scrutiny. The prosecutor presses on, leading Robyn through a detailed account of interactions that suggest favoritism, emotional neglect, and miscommunication, revealing patterns that have destabilized the family's dynamics over time. And each revelation lands like a small hammer, chipping away at the veneer of control Kody tries to maintain. Have you ever felt cornered, with every word you speak potentially causing more damage than good? Janelle steps forward next, recounting a private argument with Kody that escalated into weeks of tension, describing how promises were made in moments of desperation and quickly forgotten, and how the emotional fallout rippled through the family, leaving trust fractured and relationships strained to the breaking point. Her voice wavers, but her words are precise, painting a vivid picture of betrayal, frustration, and emotional fatigue that resonates with everyone in the room. The judge listens intently, her eyes sharp, occasionally glancing down at notes, silently weighing the emotional impact against the legal implications, while the audience feels the tension ratchet higher, sensing that each testimony is another domino in a cascade that could unravel the entire family dynamic. Could you forgive someone if their actions cut deeper than any words ever could? Meri, often quiet and reserved, finally speaks, her voice carrying a fragile mixture of anger and vulnerability, as she recounts moments when she felt excluded, misunderstood, and emotionally abandoned, detailing how these experiences left her questioning not only her relationship with Kody, but also her own sense of self-worth. And as she speaks, tears shimmer in her eyes, making her words impossible to ignore. Kody shifts uncomfortably in his seat, stealing quick glances at each woman as if searching for a lifeline, while Robyn's hands clench together in silent frustration. Christine's eyes flash with suppressed fury, and Janelle's face tightens with a mixture of sorrow and determination. The room a pressure cooker of emotion, history, and unresolved conflict. The prosecutor introduces a new witness, a close family friend who testifies to the private conflicts they've observed, confirming suspicions of hidden alliances and subtle manipulations, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. While the gallery watches in rapt attention, caught between shock, disbelief, and morbid curiosity. When secrets are revealed, who truly wins and who loses everything? The courtroom becomes a theater of subtle power plays. Every glance, every sigh, every hesitation loaded with meaning, and as questions are fired back and forth, the Browns' relationships are laid bare, exposing raw nerves, long-standing grievances, and emotional scars that threaten to tear them apart. Christine's attorney rises, challenging portions of the testimony, attempting to discredit witnesses, but the tension only escalates, and Kody leans back, rubbing his temples, the pressure almost unbearable, knowing that any misstep could irreversibly alter the course of the case. Robyn continues recounting how certain choices by Kody left her feeling invisible and unvalued, her words resonating with pain and quiet strength, while Janelle adds details that reveal the subtle ways loyalty shifted and how emotional manipulation left her questioning her own judgment, each narrative intertwining to create a tapestry of distrust, betrayal, and heartbreak. Could you hold your ground if everything you believed about your family was challenged in front of strangers? The tension builds further when the prosecutor presents previously unseen documents, emails, and photos that suggest Kody had been aware of conflicts and yet failed to act decisively. A revelation that sends ripples of shock and anger through the courtroom, leaving the family members exchanging worried glances, each silently grappling with the implications of these disclosures. The gallery murmurs, reporters scribble frantically, and cameras capture every subtle reaction. The arch of an eyebrow, the tightening of a jaw, the quiver of a lip. Moments that convey more than words ever could, while the judge maintains a composed demeanor, aware that the emotional stakes here rival the legal ones. As the session progresses, tensions spike when Christine recounts a confrontation that escalated into verbal accusations, each word cutting deep, leaving the room tense, charged with emotion, as the Brown family faces the consequences of long-held secrets and unresolved disputes. If the people you love most could betray you, how would you respond? The day drags on, each witness revealing more layers of conflict, more evidence of fractured relationships, subtle betrayals, and emotional miscalculations. And as the afternoon sun filters through the tall courtroom windows, casting long shadows on the polished floors, the family sits in a fragile silence, knowing that the next testimony could ignite emotions too powerful to contain. Robyn's eyes glisten with tears, Kody's face is pale, Christine's jaw clenches, Janelle's fingers tap nervously against her knee, and Meri's quiet sobs barely contained, creating a tense tableau that mirrors the emotional chaos of the trial. What would you do if the person you trusted most held the power to destroy your life with a single word? As the gavel finally signals recess, the family files out slowly, the weight of the day etched into their expressions, each lost in thought, each aware that the storm is far from over, that the next session will bring more revelations, more confrontations, and perhaps a truth that no one is fully prepared to face. Outside, the media buzzes, the gallery speculates, and the audience is left on edge, anticipating the next chapter, knowing that the secrets, the betrayals, and the emotional explosions are far from over, and that the Browns' relationships, delicate, strained, and complicated, hang in the balance, waiting for the next court battle to tip them irreversibly. Who will stand strong when the truth comes crashing down, and who will crumble under its weight? The courtroom feels suffocating as the fourth day begins, the weight of anticipation pressing down on everyone inside. Kody sits motionless, fingers steepled, eyes scanning each member of the family as if trying to read their intentions before any words are spoken, while Robyn shifts in her seat, her hands gripping the edges of her notebook, her heart racing as she prepares to face the testimony that could expose more than she ever imagined. Christine's eyes glint with barely contained fury, every muscle in her body taut, ready to pounce on any hint of weakness or inconsistency, and Janelle leans forward, jaw tight, absorbing every word, every glance, every subtle reaction, knowing that one misstep could tip the balance of trust and loyalty irrevocably. The prosecutor rises, commanding the room's attention, and begins introducing evidence that promises to push the tension past its breaking point. Photographs, messages, and recordings that suggest not only miscommunication, but deliberate manipulation and exclusion. Each piece landing like a hammer blow, leaving the family scrambling to reconcile their memories with the shocking revelations laid bare before them. Could you keep your composure if every secret you held was suddenly exposed to the world? Robyn takes the stand, her voice quivering at first, but gaining strength as she recounts the emotional toll of months of hidden conversations, subtle betrayals, and quiet manipulations, describing nights spent questioning her value, her role, and the sincerity of those around her. And as she speaks, the courtroom feels electric, the tension almost tangible, every eye fixed on her face, reading the flicker of hurt, the shimmer of tears, the controlled rage that bubbles beneath the surface. Kody shifts uncomfortably, stealing glances at Christine, Janelle, and Meri, each representing a different facet of the complex emotional landscape he navigates. And as the prosecutor presses further, introducing text messages that contradict previous statements, the cracks in his carefully constructed composure become visible. A twitch of the eye, a tremor in the hand, a barely audible sigh, all betraying the storm within. What would you do if the one person you trusted most had been rewriting your story behind your back? Christine rises, her attorney guiding her through moments of confrontation and emotional collapse where anger, hurt, and frustration collide, creating vivid images of arguments, whispered warnings, and emotional manipulation. Each memory recounted with precise detail, leaving Kody momentarily speechless, Robyn teetering between empathy and exasperation, and the gallery enthralled by the raw authenticity of the exchanges. Janelle steps forward next, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the emotional turmoil, recounting a confrontation in the living room months ago, where alliances shifted dramatically. Words were exchanged that left permanent scars, and choices were made that none of them anticipated, and as she speaks, the tension ratchets higher, every pause pregnant with meaning, every glance charged with unspoken accusation. Have you ever been trapped in a situation where every choice feels like a betrayal and every word carries the weight of heartbreak? The judge leans forward, her gavel poised, balancing the legal necessity with the emotional reality of the courtroom, aware that one wrong word could ignite an uncontrollable eruption of feelings. And as the day progresses, testimony alternates between emotional reflection and legal argument, creating a rhythm of tension and release that keeps everyone on edge. Meri, usually quiet, finally stands, tears glistening in her eyes as she recounts nights of feeling isolated, unappreciated, and overlooked. Moments where she questioned her worth and her place in the family, and each word pierces the room like a knife, leaving the Browns struggling to maintain their composure while the gallery absorbs every emotional beat. Could you stay silent if speaking out might shatter everything around you? Kody finally speaks, his voice tight, revealing his perspective, his regret, his frustration, but also his desperation to keep the family intact. And while some listen with empathy, others bristle at his words, sensing omissions and contradictions. The tension between intention and perception palpable, and the emotional stakes climbing with each passing moment. The prosecutor introduces a new set of witnesses, extended family and close friends who testify to patterns of favoritism, exclusion, and subtle manipulation. Each account layering additional pressure on Kody and creating small fissures between Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, leaving viewers with a growing sense of impending emotional explosion. When betrayal is subtle but persistent, how do you know who to trust? The courtroom is a storm of emotion, with arguments simmering just below the surface, whispered remarks and sidelong glances amplifying the tension, while reporters scribble notes frantically and cameras capture every flicker of expression, every quiver of a lip, every tightening of a fist. Moments that speak louder than any testimony. Robyn's eyes well with tears as she recounts a private confrontation that left her questioning her marriage, her family, and her sense of self. While Christine's glare threatens to slice through the room, Janelle's posture exudes restrained fury and Meri trembles, barely holding herself together as she recounts emotional neglect and exclusion, creating a tableau of raw human vulnerability and conflict. Have you ever felt powerless when those around you control the narrative of your life? As new documents are introduced, letters, emails, and recordings, the Brown family is forced to face undeniable evidence of miscommunication, conflicting promises, and decisions made in secrecy. And each revelation creates new fissures, new emotional rifts, new questions of loyalty and trust, the courtroom hanging on every word. The judge's gavel punctuates moments of escalating tension, signaling order amidst the chaos, but the emotional storm continues. Each testimony peeling back layers of secrecy, exposing vulnerabilities, resentments, and unspoken truths, leaving everyone exhausted, overwhelmed, and uncertain of what comes next. Could you survive a day where every truth you hide is laid bare for the world to see? The session crescendos into a dramatic confrontation between Kody and Christine, with words being exchanged that crack the fragile facade of civility, accusations flying, voices trembling with the mixture of rage, hurt, and desperation. The audience can almost feel the emotional impact reverberating off the courtroom walls. Each word, like a lightning strike that illuminates the fractures in the family's relationships, Robyn and Janelle watch in emotional rawness as the revelations are processed, preparing for their own moments on the stand. Meri quietly wipes away her tears as the tension rises to its peak, air electric with anticipation and the feeling that the most critical and revealing moments are yet to come. What would you do if the very foundation of your family began to crumble around you and you were powerless to stop it? As the gavel signals recess, the Browns file out, faces pale, shoulders tense, hearts heavy, knowing the next session will push them further into the depths of emotional confrontation. Secrets still hidden will be revealed, and the decisions made today will reverberate long into the future. Outside the courtroom, whispers grow, cameras flash, and the anticipation of viewers and reporters alike is palpable as the audience is left on edge, consumed with questions about who will survive the storm, who will buckle under the weight of it, and what truths will finally shatter the delicate balance of the Brown family. Can anyone truly emerge unscathed when the past refuses to stay buried? The courtroom opens, filled with an oppressive silence as the weight of the past sessions bears down on everyone while Kody walks to his seat, shoulders stiff, face pale, his eyes scanning Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri as though trying to anticipate their next move, and the very air charged with unspoken accusations and lingering resentment. Robyn sits quietly, fingers laced tightly, her jaw firm, mentally preparing for the storm that is to come, the heart racing as she contemplates those painful conversations, secrets, and betrayals that have defined these recent months. Christine leans forward, eyes sharp, lips pursed, as every movement is a subtle threat, signaling she is ready to pounce on any inconsistency, any weakness. And Janelle and Meri await tensely, knowing full well that today's testimony could shift loyalties and further fracture this family dynamic. The judge calls the court to order as her gavel slices through tension like a blade, and up rises the prosecutor, voice precise and commanding, beginning a line of questioning that promises to peel back yet another layer of this complex web of secrets, emotional manipulation, and fractured alliances, introducing previously unseen evidence that may forever alter the perception of trust and loyalty within the family. Could you keep your cool if the very fabric of your family was unraveling before your eyes? Kody is called to the stand first. His hands are clasped tightly together, knuckles white as he recounts his perspective on recent conflicts in an attempt to justify the decisions he's made, though treading the emotional minefield that's laid before him. His voice is tight and measured, but the strain is clear to see, each word weighed carefully against the potential backlash from the women who watch him with a mixture of anger, hurt, and disbelief. Robyn follows, describing private moments of heartache, feeling unseen, unheard, and increasingly isolated, recounting conversations and actions that left her questioning not only her place in the family, but also her worth and value, while the prosecutor skillfully guides her testimony to reveal patterns of favoritism, secrecy, and emotional neglect, painting a picture of a family struggling under the weight of unresolved conflicts. Have you ever felt invisible in a place that should have been your sanctuary? Christine rises next, her voice sharp, her tone both accusatory and defiant, recalling confrontations with Kody and moments when she felt manipulated, dismissed, or deliberately excluded, her words cutting through the tense air of the courtroom, leaving Kody visibly unsettled. Robyn clenching her fists, Janelle's jaw tightening, and Meri's eyes welling with unshed tears, each reaction cranking up the palpable tension. The prosecutor then calls a new witness, a close family friend, to the stand who corroborates Robyn and Christine's accounts and adds new revelations about late-night meetings, whispered conversations, and subtle shifts in loyalty that had gone unnoticed by the family at large, while the gallery leans forward, absorbing each detail with rapt attention as emotional stakes grow with every word spoken. If the people you trust most have been keeping secrets, how do you know what is real? Janelle takes the stand next, her voice steady yet with emotional undertones, describing a private argument that escalated far beyond what anyone could have imagined, exposing fractures in relationships, hidden resentments, and long simmering feelings of betrayal that threatened to topple the fragile peace the family has tried to maintain. Each revelation landing like a hammer, reverberating through the courtroom, leaving everyone, including Kody, visibly shaken. Finally, Meri speaks, her usually quiet voice trembling but resolute in recounting moments when she felt marginalized, overlooked, and dismissed, detailing how these experiences left her wondering if she can still trust her judgment and the integrity of those around her, her tears adding weight and authenticity to her words that make the courtroom feel unbearably heavy, charged with raw emotional fallout from long-standing conflicts. Could you keep silent if speaking up will destroy your relationships forever? A new set of emails and recorded conversations are introduced by the prosecutor, evidence to hint at manipulation, favoritism, and emotional neglect, all forcing the family to confront truths they had previously avoided. Each revelation intensifies the sense of betrayal, the pressure in the room continuing to mount with Kody scrambling to justify his actions. While the women process the implications for lives and relationships, Christine seizes the moment to challenge Kody's testimony, pointing to inconsistencies, omissions, and moments of emotional distance in his words. Her tone is sharp. Her voice rises ever so slightly, forcing Kody to consider every word with care. Each exchange is a delicate dance of defense and accusation as the gallery looks on, silently fascinated by the tension that is nearly palpable. Reporters scribble notes furiously, capturing every word for the world to see. What would you do if every choice you made was being scrutinized and judged publicly? Robyn recollects the conversation that occurred late at night when promises were broken, feelings ignored, and trust was eroded, her voice calm, steady despite a storm of emotion, ready to spill over, while Janelle adds her viewpoint, recounting instances of hidden agendas, subtle manipulations, the emotional toll from having to navigate a household where loyalties are always being tried and alliances are fragile. For a moment, Kody is speechless. Christine's glare stayed on him, Meri silently shaking her head at the depth of the betrayal. The judge kept order as her gavel punctuated the hot exchanges, and the prosecutor took his time presenting evidence, linking patterns of behavior over many months of interactions, underscoring the insidious but powerful ways in which trust was being broken and strained relationships neared collapse. Could you make it through one day when every hidden truth finally comes to light at the same moment? The courtroom has now become a theater of emotion. The walls reverberate with hurt, frustration, and repressed anger, each testimony further adding layers of conflict and painting the psychological and emotional landscape of a family in crisis. Skepticism greets Kody's attempts at explanation. Pain resonates as expressed by Robyn. Christine's accusations pierce. Janelle's observations expose hidden fractures, and Meri's exposed wounds strike a chord. This all weaves a complicated tapestry of human emotion and legal tension. As the session wore on, it quickened the pace. Testimonies overlap, memories contradict each other, and emotions flare. The Brown family on the brink of breakdown, every word the potential spark to ignite an emotional firestorm. The gallery is captivated, the media buzzes, and the audience cannot look away from the unfolding drama. If people you love most challenge you at every turn, how do you find the strength to stand firm? The day escalates until a confrontation between Kody and Christine, with accusations flying, voices raised, and the emotional undercurrent of struggles in the family almost spilling over completely. Robyn, Janelle, and Meri look on with bated breath as the next revelation may change their relationships forever, leaving the audience begging for what is going to happen next. As the gavel goes down for recess, the Browns exit the courtroom, faces tight, their hearts heavy, and minds racing from the weight of today's revelations and the knowledge of more gut-wrenching disclosures, emotional confrontations, and dramatic twists to come in the next session. The suspense has everyone inside and outside the courtroom in anticipation of the next chapter in this unraveling family saga. Who will survive the truth and who will be broken by it? The courtroom is tense, the air heavy with anticipation as testimony enters its 6th day, the echoes of previous revelations still hanging over the Brown family like some sort of invisible storm. Kody sits rigid, hands clasped tightly and his jaw set while his eyes scan Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, conscious that every movement and every glance may be scrutinized and translated into what is not said. Robyn, on the other side, leans forward a bit, shoulders tense, her heart pounding as she readies herself for another round of emotional confrontation, knowing well today may be even more painful in exposing deep fractures within the family dynamic. Christine sits up, eyes sharp and calculating, fingers drumming lightly against her notebook. Every piece of her taut, ready to jump at whatever inconsistency may come. Janelle shifts uncomfortably, weighing every word and reaction silently. Meri quietly wipes her tears away and readies herself for the emotional weight of the session to come. The judge calls the court to order, her gavel striking with authority, and the prosecutor rises, voice firm and deliberate, beginning a series of questions designed to uncover long-hidden truths, introducing new evidence in the form of private messages, photos, and detailed accounts that reveal patterns of favoritism, manipulation, and unspoken resentments that had previously been concealed, each piece landing like a hammer, sending shockwaves through the courtroom and leaving the family scrambling to maintain composure. Could you remain calm if every hidden decision and secret action were suddenly revealed to the world? Kody is first to take the stand, his voice steady yet strained as he recounts his perspective, attempting to explain decisions that have been interpreted as favoritism or betrayal, while the women listen intently, their expressions a mix of skepticism, hurt, and barely suppressed anger, each processing the narrative in their own way and each aware that the next word could tip the fragile balance of trust irreversibly. Robyn's testimony follows, her voice shaking slightly, but growing in strength as she recalls moments of emotional neglect, subtle manipulation, and private conflicts that left her questioning her place in the family, her tone balancing vulnerability and quiet defiance, painting a vivid picture of her internal struggle and the emotional toll of living in a household fractured by secrecy and shifting loyalties. When your feelings have been dismissed repeatedly, how long can you stay silent before the truth must be spoken? Christine rises next, her voice cutting through the tense air as she details confrontations, miscommunications, and instances where promises were broken, each word layered with emotion, anger, and hurt, leaving Kody momentarily speechless and the audience captivated by the intensity of her account, while Janelle and Meri absorb the testimony, each preparing to share their own perspectives, aware that their words could ignite further conflict or reveal painful truths long hidden. The prosecutor presents new witnesses, friends and extended family who corroborate previous testimonies and introduce additional details of hidden conversations, late-night disputes, and subtle manipulations, each revelation adding pressure, raising stakes, and creating fractures in relationships that had been tenuous at best, leaving Kody and the women grappling with the weight of undeniable evidence. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone whose actions contradicted their words in ways you could never have anticipated? As the session progresses, tension rises further with the introduction of emails, voice recordings, and private notes that highlight discrepancies in recollections and reveal hidden agendas, forcing the Browns to confront truths that have been buried under layers of avoidance and denial. And as each piece of evidence is presented, the emotional temperature of the courtroom rises, the air crackling with unspoken accusations, resentment, and fear. Robyn recounts a particularly painful confrontation, her voice trembling yet resolute as she describes the emotional fallout from decisions made without her input, feelings disregarded, and trust eroded, while Christine interjects with sharp rebuttals, her tone simultaneously defensive and accusatory, creating a charged interplay that leaves Kody visibly struggling to respond, the tension reaching almost unbearable levels. Could you handle the truth if it meant facing the consequences of past mistakes publicly and painfully? Janelle steps up, recounting moments of favoritism, emotional neglect, and private conflicts that had quietly built over months. Her words precise and emotionally resonant, leaving the audience feeling the depth of betrayal and the complexity of family relationships. While Meri adds her own perspective, her voice quiet yet piercing, describing feelings of isolation, disappointment, and frustration. Her testimony further unraveling the carefully maintained facade of family unity. The prosecutor skillfully guides the witnesses, drawing out contradictions, hidden intentions, and subtle manipulations, highlighting the emotional impact on each family member, while the judge maintains order, occasionally glancing down at notes, silently acknowledging the delicate balance between legal proceedings and the human drama unfolding before her. When trust has been broken repeatedly, how do you rebuild what has been lost? The tension builds higher and higher as the courtroom becomes a pressure cooker of emotion. Every glance, every sigh, every tremor magnified, every slight shift in posture speaking volumes. Reporters capturing the drama on camera, focusing on micro expressions of inner turmoil. The gallery leaning forward, caught in the intensity of the moment and unable to look away from the storm unfolding before their eyes. Robyn's eyes well up as she recounts a private argument that had her question not only her place within the family, but also her sense of self. Christine's face tenses up with anger and frustration, Janelle's jaw clenching tight and Meri quivering. It's all a tableau of vulnerability, tension, and emotional honesty, with Kody trying to navigate the complex web of accusations and emotional responses, his composure tested with every passing moment. If the ones you loved most were causing you the most pain, what would you do? Introducing new evidence recordings of private conversations, emails that contradict earlier statements, and messages that reveal hidden alliances, the courtroom fills with shock, lack of belief, and heightened tension. Forcing the Browns to confront uncomfortable truths, emotional betrayals, and the consequences of actions long ignored, the prosecutor methodically builds a narrative that exposes the depth of family fractures and the difficulty in reconciling love with resentment. The day crescendos to Kody and Christine having a sharp, heated exchange of words, voices rising and words cutting, emotions raw and exposed, leaving the room tense, the audience captured, and the family at the edge of an emotional meltdown as Robyn, Janelle, and Meri are absorbing the intensity, each preparing for their own moments of revelation. Understanding the next few hours may irreversibly alter the family dynamic. What would you do if everything you ever feared hearing was finally about to be spoken aloud with no possibility of ever turning back? The gavel finally comes down for recess as the Browns file out of the courtroom, pale, with weighted shoulders and hearts burdened by the weight of the day's disclosures, knowing full well the next sessions will again challenge, expose, and confront them in ways they have never faced before, thus leaving the audience in desperate suspense to see how the family will navigate the storm of truth, betrayal, and emotional reckoning, and in anticipation of what will happen in the next chapter, where every secret counts, every emotion counts, and every relationship hangs by the thinnest of threads. Who can weather the emotional storm, and whose hearts will be irreparably shattered in its wake? The courtroom is electric as the seventh day gets underway with the weight of prior revelations bearing down on all concerned. Kody sits stiffly, hands clasped tightly together in front of him, jaw set, eyes darting between Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, each glance carrying unspoken questions, fears, and regrets. Robyn leans forward slightly, her fingers laced together, heart racing as she braces herself for another emotionally grueling session, knowing that today might irreversibly alter the fragile balance of the family. Christine sits upright, eyes sharp, muscles taut, ready to challenge every word, every nuance, every hesitation. Janelle shifts in her seat, silently weighing what to say and how it will impact the drama unfolding around her, and Meri wipes at her eyes, her hands trembling slightly as she prepares to confront the emotional truths that have for so long haunted her, aware that every declaration could spark conflict or reveal long-buried secrets. The judge calls the court to order, the forceful rap of her gavel echoing through the taut silence, and the prosecutor rises, voice firm and commanding, introducing new testimony and evidence that promises to take the emotional stakes even higher. A series of private emails, late-night recordings, and notes that show ongoing patterns of exclusion, miscommunication, and subtle manipulations that over time have quietly eroded trust and stability within the family. Could you keep calm if suddenly every hidden moment in your life became public for scrutiny? Kody is the first to speak, his voice tight, measured, revealing his perspective on the events, attempts to explain past decisions, and justifications for choices that have been interpreted as neglect or favoritism. While the women listen intently, their expressions a mixture of skepticism, hurt, and barely restrained anger, each processing the implications of his words and the hidden motivations they now illuminate. Robyn's testimony follows, her voice trembling at first, but gaining strength as she recounts late-night conversations, emotional neglect, and moments of isolation, her words laced with both vulnerability and quiet defiance, painting a vivid picture of the emotional cost of living in a household fractured by secrecy and shifting allegiances, while the prosecutor draws out the contradictions, emphasizing the patterns that have destabilized the family over time. Have you ever had to face the people you love most, knowing they might not see your side of the story? Christine rises, her tone sharp and piercing, recounting confrontations, broken promises, and emotional betrayals, each word dripping with intensity and raw emotion, leaving Kody visibly unsettled, Robyn clenching her fists, Janelle jaw tightened in silent tension, and Meri trembling, the courtroom hanging on every syllable, aware that each statement could ignite a new wave of emotional upheaval. New witnesses are introduced, extended family members and close friends whose accounts corroborate previous testimony, and introduce fresh revelations about hidden discussions, whispered warnings, and subtle manipulations, deepening the cracks within the family and forcing each member to confront uncomfortable truths about loyalty, trust, and their place within the household. When trust is repeatedly broken, how do you decide who deserves your belief? The session intensifies as the prosecutor presents emails and private messages, evidence that highlights discrepancies between what was said and what was done, forcing Kody, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri to grapple with the reality of the family's fractured dynamics. Each word a spark that could ignite further conflict, every glance a potential trigger for confrontation. Robyn recounts a particularly painful late-night confrontation, her voice gaining power and clarity as she describes the emotional toll of being unheard and unseen, while Christine interjects with sharp rebuttals, her voice rising with a mixture of frustration, anger, and heartbreak, creating a charged exchange that leaves Kody visibly struggling to respond, the tension in the room nearly unbearable as emotions and accusations collide. Could you endure facing the consequences of past actions when everyone is watching and judging? Janelle steps forward, her voice steady yet layered with emotion, recounting moments of favoritism, manipulation, and private conflicts that quietly escalated into long-term emotional strain. Her words vivid, leaving the courtroom and the gallery captivated, while Meri adds her perspective, her quiet voice cutting through the charged atmosphere, revealing feelings of isolation, marginalization, and emotional abandonment. Each testimony deepening the emotional intensity and highlighting the fragile state of trust within the family. The judge maintains order, her gavel punctuating moments of escalating tension, as the prosecutor continues to weave a narrative that exposes the subtle manipulations, omissions, and emotional fractures, leaving the Browns struggling to defend themselves while the audience is gripped by the raw authenticity and high-stakes drama unfolding before them. What would you do if every hidden truth was now undeniable and every relationship hung by the thinnest of threads? The tension escalates further when Kody and Christine engage in a heated exchange, voices rising, words sharp and cutting, emotions raw and exposed, while Robyn, Janelle, and Meri watch with a mixture of fear, anticipation, and quiet fury, knowing that the next testimony could irreversibly alter the family dynamic, leaving the gallery and viewers on edge, unable to look away from the drama. The prosecutor introduces recordings of private conversations, messages, and correspondence that highlight conflicting narratives, miscommunication, and evidence of subtle manipulations, forcing the family to confront the emotional and relational consequences of their actions, each revelation deepening the sense of betrayal and tension within the room. If the people you love most challenged you at every turn, how would you respond? Robyn recounts a private confrontation with emotional fallout, a voice both painful and quietly strong, while Christine points to the inconsistencies and omissions in Kody's explanations. Their verbal clash served as an example of years of unresolved grievances and emotional turbulence, and the courtroom was buzzing, ready to move on to the next wave of revelations. Much more testimony ensues, including from Janelle and Meri about clandestine conversations, passive emotional abandonment, and how trust has been subtly eroded, adding layers and depth to what has transpired, forcing each family member to confront uncomfortable truths and unspoken resentments. The audience is riveted as they are fully invested in the escalating drama. Can you imagine just one day where the very foundation of your family is called into question and mistakes are exposed for all to see? As the session moves toward its climax, the Browns are reaching a critical turning point where past actions, hidden motives, and unresolved emotions converge in a tense standoff. Each person is caught up in his or her feelings, fears, and regrets, but he or she knows the next moments might irreversibly change relationships, alliances, and trusts. It leaves the courtroom, gallery, and audience on the edge of its seat, wondering what it will be like. The gavel finally falls on recess, and with pale and strained expressions, hearts heavy from the emotional toll of the day, the Browns exit the courtroom, cognizant that the last session will bring into confrontation the deepest secrets, the most volatile conflicts, and the truths that can heal or completely shatter the family. Everyone inside and outside the courtroom is left wondering what will happen next and who will emerge unscathed from this storm of revelation, betrayal, and confrontation. Who will make it out alive after the emotional avalanche, and who will be buried beneath it? Electric. Charged with anticipation and barely contained emotion, today is the last day of testimony, and Kody sits stiffly, his fingers interlocked, jaw clenched, eyes darting between Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, knowing full well that today could either salvage what remains of his family's trust or shatter it entirely. Robyn leans forward, hands clenched in her lap, heart racing, bracing for the final round of emotionally devastating revelations. Christine sits upright, her posture rigid, eyes glinting with the sharp focus of someone who does not want to let a word pass unchallenged, while Janelle and Meri trade quick, uneasy glances, knowing every word spoken in the next few hours could carry the weight of irreversible consequences. The judge calls the court to order. The gavel echoes through the tense silence like a heartbeat, and the prosecutor rises to her feet, voice firm, controlled, and more dispassionate than ever, as she introduces the last evidence. A collection of emails, recordings, and personal messages chronicling months of hidden conversations, emotional betrayals, and broken promises. Each piece hits the fragile balance of trust and loyalty like a sledgehammer, and the Browns are fighting for their composure as the audience in the courtroom stands forward, taking in the intensity of the moment. Could you imagine keeping your composure if the very foundation of your family was being dissected in front of the world? Kody speaks first, his voice tight but modulated as he recounts decisions made and promises broken, the reasoning behind choices questioned repeatedly throughout the trial in an attempt to justify actions that some would call favoritism or neglect. The women listen with everything from skepticism to hurt and barely restrained anger, each weighing his words against months of suspicion, betrayal, and emotional pain. Robyn follows, her voice initially trembling but strengthening as she relates private moments of heartache, emotional neglect, and subtle manipulation, detailing exactly how Kody's actions and inactions have affected her trust, sense of belonging, and emotional well-being. The courtroom is almost suffocating with tension as she speaks, each word hanging in the air, leaving Kody visibly unsettled, Christine steeling herself for rebuttal, Janelle holding back quiet frustration, and Meri silently trembling with the weight of her own experiences. When every hidden truth is revealed, who can you trust to stand beside you? Christine takes the stand next, and her voice cuts through the charged atmosphere like a knife as she talks about confrontations and broken promises and emotional betrayals with a mix of raw anger and heartbreak in her voice, sending a wave of dead silence over Kody, Robyn quietly absorbing the impact, Janelle tense with anticipation, and Meri's quiet sobs barely contained a powerful tableau of human emotion that holds the entire courtroom enthralled. The new witnesses include close friends and extended family, corroborating previous testimonies and giving further insight into the subtle emotional manipulations, secret conversations, and shifting alliances that have typified the last months and ramp up the pressure on Kody while underlining the fragile, fractured dynamics within the family. How would you bear the weight of judgment passed by those whose love you once trusted most? The prosecutor introduces final pieces of evidence, recordings, emails, and private notes that directly contradict statements made in earlier sessions. exposing inconsistencies, hidden motives, and patterns of neglect and favoritism that force Kody, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri to confront the undeniable truth that this is a family stretched to its emotional breaking point. Robyn recounts a private confrontation that left her questioning not only her place in the family, but also her sense of self-worth. Her voice strong, yet layered with pain. While Christine challenges Kody's perspective, her tone fierce and uncompromising, highlighting inconsistencies and emotional damage, creating a tense exchange that leaves the courtroom hanging on every word, the stakes higher than ever. If the people you love most were the ones causing the deepest pain, how would you respond? Janelle steps forward next, describing moments of favoritism, exclusion, and emotional neglect that quietly eroded trust. Her calm yet emotional delivery emphasizing the subtleties of long-term family tension, while Meri provides her perspective, her quiet voice piercing the charged atmosphere, revealing moments of isolation, heartbreak, and betrayal that force the audience to confront the emotional complexity and depth of the family's struggles. The judge maintains order, her gavel occasionally punctuating the heated exchanges as the prosecutor methodically draws out patterns of behavior, contradictions, and emotional fractures, forcing each family member to face the consequences of past actions, while the gallery and audience remain riveted, fully immersed in the intensity of the courtroom drama. When betrayal is both subtle and persistent, how do you know who truly deserves your trust? The tension escalates as Kody and Christine engage in a final, heated confrontation, voices rising, words sharp and cutting, emotions raw and exposed, while Robyn, Janelle, and Meri observe, emotionally strained, aware that the revelations yet to come could irrevocably change their relationships, alliances, and trust, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats. The prosecutor introduces the last witness, a close confidant of the family, whose testimony exposes the deepest secrets, private betrayals, and unspoken resentments. Each revelation adding layers of complexity, emotional turbulence, and suspense, leaving Kody and the women grappling with truths that cannot be ignored, and the audience captivated by the raw intensity of the unfolding drama. Could you face the truth if it meant confronting years of secrets, lies, and emotional neglect? Robyn clearly shares her emotional turmoil and vulnerability when detailing the cumulative impact of favoritism, secrecy, and exclusion, while Christine takes every narrative apart, pointing out inconsistencies, omissions, and emotional hurts. A verbal clash so powerful, a reflection of years of unresolved conflict, actually leaves the courtroom electric with tension. Janelle and Meri also contribute their insight into hidden alliances, emotional manipulation, and personal pain. Each testimony would lay further complexity on an already volatile situation, as it forces the family to confront some uncomfortable realities. Audiences just cannot look away from these cascading revelations. What if the ones you love most are also those hurting you the deepest? As the final evidence is presented, recordings, emails, and handwritten notes that expose undeniable truths, the Browns are forced to reconcile themselves with the actions and decisions they have been avoiding for so long, the emotional weight almost too much to bear. The courtroom gallery absorbs all the details. The atmosphere is tight with suspense and anticipation. Every moment is a potential point of eruption in the sensitive dynamics of this family. Robyn, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Christine, her face tight with emotion. Janelle, her fists clenched in anger. And Meri, who quietly trembles. A tableau of raw human vulnerability, tension, and emotional authenticity. Kody navigates accountability, shame, and fragile remnants of trust. If your most feared truth were finally revealed, could you find the strength to survive? On this day, its dramatic culmination finds Kody and Christine in an emotional final confrontation. Words cut. Voices shake. Emotions are laid bare. Robyn, Janelle, and Meri take in all the intensity, their hearts heavy with the weight of revelations. Each is aware that what is revealed in these final hours will define their relationships forever. The gavel finally falls to signal the end of the trial, and the Browns exit the courtroom, pale, heavy-shouldered, and with hearts full of the storm that has been aroused, knowing full well the aftermath of these revelations would reverberate in their lives for many years to come, leaving the audience enthralled, numb, and desperate to comment discuss, and reflect upon this interplay of betrayal, trust, and love they have just witnessed. What would you do if the people you love most could either heal you or destroy you with a word?